Uh, I am expected to speak on the method of measuring discrimination and its consequences, particularly in the economic sphere, and with reference to some of the group, the scheduled caste and the religious minority like Muslims. If we go back to the Constitution, the Constitution assures certain rights, uh, social, economic, cultural, political rights to all the citizens of the country. And these rights are given to every individual. There are, broadly speaking, 6 categories of fundamental rights in Article from 12 to 35. And these include right to equality before law, non-discrimination based on race, caste, sex, or place of birth. Then freedom of speech and expression, and right against exploitation, free or child labor, right to religious freedom, right of minorities are preserved, right to minorities to set up their educational institutions. These are the very fundamental rights which are guaranteed by the Constitution. In these fundamental rights, there are one set of rights, and those set of rights are related to the economic sphere. One is the right to employment. Another is right to occupation or profession. So everybody has an equal right to take any employment or to take any occupation, farming, business, or wage employment. And there is no discrimination practice allowed to be practiced. Everybody has a freedom. No obstacle should be put by one community against the other community. Now, while these are the rights, economic rights, right to property, right to occupation, right to employment, a freedom, economic freedom to everybody. In actual practice, there are obstacles and restrictions which the people of some group face in enjoying those economic rights of employment and occupation. And these rights are generally, in practice, we see that they are denied to some of the group, particularly the scheduled caste, to some extent scheduled tribe. And now we see religious minorities facing restrictions in economic sphere as well, and particularly the Muslim. Now, I would not like to go to the evidence on this. I expect you to sort of understand that there are a large number of studies which estimate the discrimination faced by Dalit and the Muslims and the tribal associated with their group identity. It is not a discrimination of individual, it is a discrimination of a group. So, and that discrimination is in employment, in occupation. I am not touching the social, religious sphere. And there is a considerable evidence now that the scheduled caste face discrimination in the market, in employment, in occupation. They also face discrimination in accessing the goods and services supplied by the government organization, like public employment or housing or midday meal or food or public health services by the primary health center. So there is a considerable evidence now that they face discrimination in market as well as non-market institutions. And it has their consequences. Indian Institute of Dalit Studies has a book, Dalit in India, or Bridging the Social Gap. And there are other working papers and report which estimates, which give an empirical evidence on discrimination faced by scheduled caste and Muslim. On Muslim minorities, we have a couple of studies on inequality as well as discrimination. Now, assuming that there is a discrimination, this is an important area then, that if discrimination means in the market and outside market means denial of equal opportunity, denial of fundamental rights ensured in the Constitution in economic sphere. And therefore, there is a need to understand the magnitude of discrimination in economic sphere, their consequences and the policies. So these are three important issues. One is measure the magnitude and the dimension of economic discrimination in market and outside market, and their consequences on poverty, income, deprivation, and then the remedies. There is one more point which I forgot to tell you, that Constitution, while guarantee right to employment and occupation, it also has a provision wherein it debarred the economic exploitation. And that economic exploitation is that it doesn't allow forced or attached labor or bonded labor. We have a Abolition of Bonded Labor Act of 1979. So that is also there. Now, it is important, I have been emphasizing with you people whenever I visit and I talk to Dr. With the Vice Chancellor, that we have set up that Center for Exclusion, that it is the responsibility of the scholar in this center and the other centers which are affiliated to this center to undertake studies on economic discrimination of the Muslims in market and non-market institution, understand their consequences and suggest remedies. And this is very important. Now, in order to study, you require methods. You ought to know the concept, you ought to know the method, and you also know the method of measurement of discrimination. What I will do in another 20-25 minutes is to share with you my view on three issues. One, what does discrimination mean? Economic discrimination mean? The concept of economic discrimination, how it can be measured, how the consequences of that discrimination can be measured, and what are the possible policies. I may not touch on policy as much as on the first two. So this is unable to those researcher and the student to undertake studies on discrimination. The problem is that the issue of discrimination has been neglected very badly in the educational institution, particularly in the Department of Economics. There are hardly any department in the country where this economics of discrimination is taught. Delhi University is one where there was a course there. And I think Lucknow University, Ambedkar University also had a course. But other than this isolated example, we do not see the initiative on the part of the academician economist to undertake a study on economic discrimination. Social discrimination, yes. Sociology and anthropological department, they have undertaken discrimination. But I do not know even they, to what extent they have studied the discrimination faced by the religious minority like Muslim and Christians and others in sociological, cultural and religious sphere. And there is a discrimination there. But economists have by and large neglected. Therefore, my institute, Indian Institute of Dalit Studies, for last 20 years, we have focused on estimating the showing the empirical evidence in favor of economic discrimination, their bad consequences, and the remedies. So I will address these three issues very briefly. What do we mean by discrimination? Now, discrimination, if we go by the Constitution, for example, that everybody has equal right to occupation and employment, and if that occupation is denied, if that right is denied, then there is a differential treatment. In economics, we will define the discrimination in the following word, that is the unequal treatment of equal. Equal in merit and productivity a person which are equal in productivity and merit should be treated equally. They should be given equal opportunity in employment or in occupation. But in practice, what happens is that some group are uh, face restriction, and there is no freedom for as much freedom in employment and occupation. So in employment, you will find that even if you are equally qualified, you are not taken in employment, others are taken, who can be less meritorious. Similarly, you face discrimination in occupation. So the first concept of economic discrimination is treating the equal unequally and by putting certain restriction. This is first point that you must understand. The second point is that this discrimination is group-based. This discrimination is not based on individual. This is a group-based discrimination in the sense that all the individuals in a particular group, like untouchable or Muslim, are discriminated on the basis of their group identity. It is not on the basis of merit or personal attribute. This denial of equal opportunity or restrictions faced by all the individuals within the Muslim community or within the scheduled caste community or within the tribal community or all women, for example, vis-a-vis men. So the discrimination, the way it is defined in the theories of discrimination, is a group-based concept that you are denied equal opportunity for being a member of a one particular group and not as an individual. So this you must very clearly understand. So when we are talking of discrimination, we are talking of this group discrimination based on the identity, cultural identity, religious identity, gender identity, caste identity, tribal identity, racial identity, color identity. So these are all identities on the basis of which discrimination is practiced. In India, of course, we have a very diversified society. Therefore, discrimination is also diversified. We recognize discrimination based on caste. We recognize discrimination based on religion. We recognize discrimination based on gender. We began to recognize discrimination now on the basis of race and color. The black people face discrimination in employment and some sphere. Racial discrimination was not very prominent, but that has also emerged now that the people from the Northeast being considered from a different race and they face discrimination in Delhi or Bangalore, and you might have seen several incidences of that. So in Indian society, given its diversified character, the forms of discrimination are also multiple. Discrimination is practice associated with caste, religion, race, color, gender, ethnicity, tribalness. And so it is a group concept which you have to remember because it has a policy implication. Now, how do we measure discrimination? Let us define the concept of market discrimination and non-market discrimination. Now, why do we take market discrimination? Why do we call market discrimination? The reason is that the discrimination takes place in the market. The market is not a physical market. It's a market which is invisible market. That there is a market where you seek a job. There are persons who need jobs, and there are persons who applied for those jobs. And it all operates through advertisement and personal interviews and all that. So we call it a labor market. Similarly, there is a market where you buy input that you require in farming, that you require in business, various kind of goods that you require. Then you sell the product. So that we call the sale market, where the consumer and capital goods are sold in the market. Services are also sold and purchased beside goods. This happen in market. So we have a labor market, we have land market. You want to buy land, you have to approach a person to buy land and or sell land. So land market, labor market, credit market, you have to go to the bank or the money lender to take a loan. So this is a concept which is developed by the economists of market. And there, whenever you engage in the transaction, sale and purchase and buying, a person of certain groups are treated differently with a differential terms and conditions. Now, a general concept of market is that if you go to the market and you want to buy something, you should get that as a given price in the market. But you don't get those goods at a given price, market price. First thing, you can be denied. And second thing, if you are included, included in the sale that you are allowed to buy or you are allowed to sell, but you are allowed to sell and buy at a differential terms of trade, terms and condition. So you can participate, but on a differential terms and condition. Now, this concept has been very nicely defined by Amartya Sen. So to bring the clarity on the concept. Amartya Sen, with respect to the market and even non-market also, he developed two concepts. One is unfavorable discrimination, other is unfavorable inclusion. Now, what is unfavorable exclusion in the market? Unfavorable exclusion in the market means you are not allowed to participate in the market. You want to buy certain things, those things are not sold. You want to sell something, you are not sold. So there is a complete exclusion from the market, which he called it is unfavorable. That is the unfavorable concept of unfavorable market. I will give to clarify example because I am not going into empirical studies, but to clarify and to make you understand what I'm saying. For example, we did a study, IIDS did a study for Haryana, and we discovered that nobody buys milk from Valmiki. They want to sell it, but nobody buy. And nobody buy the item from the grocery shop of the Valmiki. So you find an exclusion in the sale market or purchase market. Or the scheduled castes are not employed for the domestic work in the house. Because domestic work is scheduled caste being a polluting caste, they are not, they are debarred from employment in the domestic work. So complete exclusion. So you can see that there is an exclusion in certain areas of employment or business, which Amartya Sen will call unfavorable. So this is an unfavorable exclusion, denial of participation in the sale and purchase or exchange of commodities in the market. There is another concept that is unfavorable inclusion. What is unfavorable inclusion? Unfavorable inclusion means that you are allowed to participate, but on a differential terms and conditions. And those conditions are different than the terms and conditions for the other group. So if the scheduled castes are hired in employment, okay, we give you a job, but we will pay you less wages and we will give you an occupation which is not in conformity with your qualification. So you are allowed to include, but on it unfavorable terms and conditions. And so the major forms of discrimination is in fact unfavorable inclusion also. Laborers are given employment, but it's a forced labor. You work for 12 hours, other will work for 8 hours. Other will get 400 rupees a day, you will get 300 rupees a day. So the employment is given, but at a different terms of condition, which is different from the high caste. And so that amount to be discriminated, because discrimination means you are treating equal unequally. So this concept of unfavorable exclusion and unfavorable inclusion can be applied to study the minorities also. We have done that. There is a study by Khalid Khan, which is not yet out, because by the time this study was conducted and the funding was from ICSR, and the report was sent, ICSR did not like this study. So they are not yet approved and they have not released our fund also, because they don't want. Now the research agenda of ICSR is different than what I had laid down when I was chairman. No, so they don't encourage studies on inequality, gender or other. They don't study inequality on minorities or scheduled caste and caste discrimination. This is also a discrimination in academic and funding. But I think we have draft of that, and we see that the Muslim face discrimination in business, in employment, in addition to, of course, the scheduled class. So the concept is, I think, whenever the new scholar want to study, they should use this concept of favorable and unfavorable exclusion, inclusion and exclusion, and the IIDS has a paper with a co-author, me and Nidhi Sadana, on concept, indicators, and method of measurement of discrimination. But my a new book is coming. 2 books are coming now. One book, my entire life writing, I have put it together in 17 articles briefly. And there is a chapter on method of measuring discrimination and theories of discrimination there. And there is another book that is coming up which estimates the discrimination in market and non-market institution. That will bring a lot of clarity. But this concept paper, which is with IIDS, which you can ask Vinod Mishra, and he will share with you online. So this is the concept of discrimination, that when a particular group like scheduled caste or Muslim are excluded in participation in market, labor market, business market, and credit market, then they face, we can call them a discrimination. This discrimination is outright rejection, exclusion. The other is you are allowed, given the opportunity to include, and you are participated, but on a different terms and condition, which are which amounts to discrimination as such. Now, I have shared with you the concept. Let me a little bit go into each of the discrimination based on some theoretical concept, and then I will stop. When we come to the market, the first important market is employment. And the concept of market discrimination was given for the first time by Gary Baker in 1956. There was no tradition of studying discrimination of black by white. But Gary Baker was a sociologist, and he showed a courage to undertake a PhD work in Chicago University on the economic discrimination in the market. And he did that thesis, and Chicago University in the beginning refused to publish that thesis. But after some persuasion, it was published, and it became a very famous book, Economic Discrimination. He got a Nobel Prize in addition to the other contribution of his contribution in economic discrimination was one of the work that he has done was recognized for Nobel Prize. So he talked of labor market discrimination. Now, the labor market discrimination can happen in 2 ways. One is refusal of employment, and secondly, inclusion of employment, but with the lower wages and different occupation, which is not in conformity with it. So he developed this concept of employment discrimination. Then you can estimate this. So he has given employment quotient. I don't want to go into that, but you can, whether the employment discrimination higher or lower, you can use that technique called employment quotient. And that you can estimate for employment, that you can estimate for wages. And that is how this concept was developed. Later on, there was an improvement in this concept of employment discrimination by Yarrow. Another, these you have to understand one thing. If you are listening to me carefully, these are all Jews. Baker is Jews, Yarrow is Jew. Milton Friedman, who was the supervisor of Baker, he was writing in economics, but he was a Jew. Because Jews suffered discrimination, therefore, they took an initiative to study discrimination. So Yarrow and other then contributed to this concept. They improvised a little bit in this concept. I would not like to go into greater detail, but you will get those in my that concept note. Then the Gary Baker basically studied the labor employment discrimination of blacks and women. He also developed a concept called social exclusion. And he defined that social exclusion. We often use social exclusion. I can see on your board display the exclusion and discrimination. He said that if the relation, economic relation between the white and the blacks are minimum, and it means the exclusion from economic relation between the two is high, then we can call it a exclusion. So that is the concept of exclusion that he has used. Now, later on, this concept has been then expanded to other market. So we can go to we can then go to the market related to farmer, related to entrepreneurs. Now, the farmer, what does he require? Farmer require input, seed, chemical fertilizer, bullock, implement in the process of cultivation. And once he produce something, he sell it. So the farmer participate in the market to buy the input which are required for agriculture, including credit, and they sell the product in the market. Now, the same concept can be then applied here, that a farmer from black or scheduled caste or Muslim may be rejected completely. He or she may not be allowed to participate. That is means they need a seed. They say, no, we won't sell you a seed. They need a fertilizer. They will say, no, we won't sell you a seed. We won't give you tractor. We won't give you your bullock. We refuse to sell you the irrigation water from the tube well. So our study on discrimination faced by the farmer brings out that the scheduled caste farmer face discrimination in getting certain input from high caste. Farmer would sell, the high caste farmer would sell seed, but generally they are reluctant to sell manure. Generally they are reluctant to give bullock, or manual labor is not allowed. The high caste would not like to work on the farming of the low caste farmer, or they would not like to give their bullock to be used on the low caste farmer. So you can see there is a outright rejection, unfavorable exclusion of the scheduled caste farmer. And if they are given some of the input like seed and fertilizer, they tend to face a higher price than the price charged for the person of their own caste. Say the OBCs are in the village generally, so they will sell the product, seed and fertilizer to their own people at a certain price, but for the scheduled caste, they will charge higher price. There is other lot of evidence. I am not going to the evidence because I am confining to the concept. Haryana evidence shows that high caste refuse to sort of sell tube well water to the scheduled caste, and if they supply, they will charge a higher price. There is also a discrimination in supply of public irrigation. There is a evidence that the scheduled caste farmer are not supplied canal water during daytime. Daytime is used by the high caste. They are supplied water during the night time at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, very untimely. So the spoilage and waste of water is very large in the night. They cannot open this. So all forms of discrimination are faced by the farmer while participating into the market to get labor, to get input, and in sale of output also. In sale of output also, we have seen discrimination that very few buy the commodities in the village, farm commodities. So they have to travel to a small town where the transportation cost increase and the profit is reduced. Now, similar discrimination is faced by the non-farm entrepreneurs, those who are engaged in the business. Those who are undertaking a small business, they face discrimination in buying of input and selling of output. We have done a study of the scheduled castes who have started a restaurant or a grocery shop or started a auto or a taxi, and they face discrimination. High caste would not buy item from the grocery shop operated by the scheduled caste. Though they only sometime in the event when it is not available with the high caste shop, they buy only the packed good, packed soap and pack other thing, but not the open one, because the scheduled caste has to touch it because of this concept of purity and pollution status of scheduled caste. So the sale of the scheduled caste grocery owner is very small. Their people from their own caste only buy, and high caste will buy very less. Same is the case with restaurant. We have seen that if they start a restaurant selling noodles or samosas or dosa, high class would not buy because of untouchability. Same is the story with the taxi. So it has come out in the for the rural area as such. So in urban area also there is a discrimination. Asim Prakash study, he has picked up 90 Dalit entrepreneur and found that they face all kind of discrimination. I would not like to go into it. I think our study done by Khalid Khan also bring out the discrimination faced by the Muslim in businesses, sale and purchase of input and output. The exact nature is not known. You may read those studies and you will find it. But the Muslim face discrimination in employment, regular salaried employment in the private sector, possibly in public sector also. In private sector, my own study, the correspondence study, if you are familiar, which is included in the blog by caste book, Discrimination in Modern India. There we had done this study where we had sent the artificial applications, 5,000 applications of scheduled castes and the Muslims. And name were clearly given, the Muslim name, the high caste name, Trivedi, and scheduled caste name. Only on the basis of name, there was a differences in the interview call. And the high discrimination was found of scheduled caste followed by the Muslim. Even if they were qualified, they were not called for the interview. Others were called. The high caste Trivedi candidate were called for the interview. We had developed an office in Indian Institute of Dalit Study and responded to all advertisement in Times of India. This study was coordinated by, I don't remember her name, this Muslim girl, Fatima, I think. She is in Bihar now in Central University. She did this study, most of it. So you find discrimination in employment, but there need to be studies. I am very unsatisfied with you people in Social Exclusion Center, and I have expressed my dissatisfaction with the Vice Chancellor that you have to undertake a lot of studies on discrimination of the Muslim in regular salaried employment. And as a result, that you can see the economists from World Bank. She has a paper in my book, Blog by Caste, and that is on the minorities, minority conclave. And the argument is now they have found that since the Muslim has discrimination in regular salaried employment, and therefore you see, if you look at the data, employment data, the percentage of regular salaried employment of the Muslim is low, much lower than even scheduled caste. So as a result, what do? They fall back upon the occupation, self-employed occupation. So proportion of self-employed occupation, business, small business, petty business, is the highest among the Muslims. So her thesis is that the Muslim goes to small businesses not because they want, but simply because they don't have a choice. Because they face discrimination in regular salaried employment. So business is the ultimate remedy to fall back upon. Do something to survive. Now you have to study this. And I don't see any study coming from Manu. You must study this. They say that there is no funding and all that. You should, the sociologists, the economics and political scientists should get affiliated to the Exclusion Center and develop projects together. Why do you need money? Develop project and send for financial support, but you have to come together. And I don't see that tendency. I'm really upset about this. We set up this Center for Social Exclusion, right, 10, 15 years before, deliberately gave it to it, invite Kancha Alaya, and he did a lot of work, but now I don't see much. So the problem of Muslim is a discrimination in regular salaried work is a serious problem, and you have to estimate it. And there are methods of estimating discrimination. They face discrimination in the business. We do not know. When they do business, whether their commodities are purchased by the Hindus, whether they face discrimination in buying the input, we do not know. You have to bring out that. And I could imagine that there would be a lot of discrimination in the market. If there are, if you go to the retail market, there are names written clearly which identify the religious background of the seller or from your physical appearance, Well, people walks on the road and look at the shop, and then, oh, they see that this is a shop of religious minority. Walk in further, you get a Hindu shop and you can buy it. When there was a riot in Delhi, after the assassination of Indira Gandhi, and Sikhs were, there was violence against the Sikhs. The follow-up of that was, somebody has done a study that in Delhi has a concept of, you have big colonies, Delhi Development Authority colony, and they have a market in the colony. And they discovered that after that riot, the Sikh businessmen began to face discrimination. The Hindus won't go to the Sikh shops. They will go and buy the commodities from the Hindu shop owner. So it's necessary to study the discrimination faced by the Sikhs also, because it has consequences. Their sale goes down, their profit goes down, they close down the business. So I think I have shared with you the discrimination in employment, discrimination in farming, discrimination in the non-farm businesses. There is also a discrimination in non-market institutions, which you have to measure. You can measure. We have done that. What are non-market institutions? Non-market institutions mean government organization which supply goods and services at a given price. It is not a market, because in market prices are determined by demand and supply. Here the price is fixed by the government, and anybody can go and buy are sold to the individual by the government. Now, this is what are those organizations? Health services, private health center. The schools provide education services in the villages or in the cities. Food, midday meal, Anganwadi, or housing, Indira Awas Yojana or Narega, public employment. Now, in this also we see discrimination. Our study of 8 states, IIDA study of 8 states, where we have taken IDRC, we have taken Janni Suraksha Yojana, we have taken midday meal, and we have taken Narega, and we found discrimination being faced by the scheduled caste and by the Muslims, and significant discrimination. To give you some examples of Muslim and the scheduled caste in the primary health integrated child development scheme. Now there is a lady called Asha, which in that the village level she provides the services to the pregnant woman. The pregnant woman delivery should be in the institution, not at home. So that woman get advice before the delivery, then she's taken to the hospital for delivery, and then after the delivery, then there is child care. So she is to be advised how many doses to be taken and all that. So some injections are given at a regular interval. Huge discrimination faced by the scheduled caste. Because the Asha, the lady, would not go into their localities, which is isolated localities. She will not enter into the house. There are some examples that if the child's weight has to be waived, newborn baby. So she won't touch the baby. She will ask somebody, the scheduled caste girl, to leave the baby and put on the weaving machine. Tablet also, they will ask somebody else to put the tablet or in their house. In some cases, it was in study that the injection also there are issues and problems. So I'm giving a case of scheduled caste, but we have also discovered the Muslim facing the discrimination, because Muslim locality is also different. So this Asha would not go there. They will ask them to come here, or these ladies would not then go, because this place of meeting is also high caste. So midday meal discrimination is again very clear. We have not studied about the Muslim. You should study about the Muslim, but the scheduled caste discrimination quite clear. The scheduled caste children are given the food after the high caste children have eaten 2 serving. They are asked to bring the plate, while the high caste are given the plate. Scheduled caste cook is not allowed to cook. If the scheduled caste woman is the cook, then the high caste children would not eat. There are news in the newspaper, but we have done a study also. So just to save on a time, that even in the delivery of the good and services by the government organization, there is a caste-based and religion-based discrimination, which need to be captured, which can be studied empirically. And then the indicators I have given you, That if you want to study discrimination, then you have to just capture the differential treatment through the primary survey. And there are indicators of those capturing the discrimination. What price you give, what price the high caste has given, what price the low caste has given, and many other indicators can be developed, which we have developed for our study. So first is the concept, then the indicator, and then you can measure them. Once you know the indicator of capturing the discrimination, you can then convert them into a questionnaire and collect the data. It is difficult, but one has to collect the data, and then you get the magnitude of discrimination. You can then, the third stage you can study is the consequences of discrimination. If if you are discriminated in employment, you are excluded from employment, which is also the case of the Muslim, the unemployment rate will be high. In case of Muslim, the consequences is that they resort to the petty businesses. So their proportion of self-employment is high. But unemployment is the outcome of discrimination in employment. Those who are higher, they are also affected because they are employed, but at a lower wage. So wage income is lower. So if your income is lower, you do not have enough income to consume the food, and your poverty is high. So my recent book, I don't know whether you have seen that book, the Scheduled Caste and Labor Market, Employment Discrimination and its Impact on Poverty. Now, for the first time in the economic profession, empirically estimated the impact of discrimination in regular salaried employment of scheduled castes on income and poverty. And we came to the conclusion that because of discrimination, the poverty of the scheduled caste regular salaried worker increased almost by 5 to 6% more. Had there been no discrimination, the poverty will have been lower. So we estimated that. That will precisely happen even for the Muslim. But you have to undertake studies with the dedication and commitment. So there are consequences of labor market discrimination on employment. Same are the consequences in the business. You have to pay higher price. You have difficulty in selling the commodity, so you charge a lower price so that people can buy. If you charge a lower price, your income is lower, your profit is lower, and you carry the business with lower profit, and after some time, you run into losses and you close down the business. But you have to collect the data on this and show and give evidence that how discrimination in business faced by the Muslim result into their high poverty. So these are the consequences. So I think I won't go to the remedies. What I have explained to you is 3 things. One, the concept of discrimination, which means unequal treatment to the equal people. And discrimination is group-based of the community based on their identity. It is not on the basis of person. All person Muslim, all person among scheduled caste face discrimination irrespective of their merit. So that concept I have given. I have given you the different types of discrimination in labor, in credit, in input, and in sale market, and also the discrimination in the government organization, and some idea I have given about the consequences. There are studies with IRDS which have given the definition, empirical measure, questionnaire, which enable the student to undertake discrimination, studies on discrimination. And IRDS for last 6 to 7 years has been organizing a methodology workshop. This is in the series of that. We started it 5-6 years before. And all those scholars who were studying discrimination in a social exclusion center like yours, Ambedkar chairs and other, they used to come, and so they learned this. So we have increased the capability of the researcher to undertake research on economic discrimination, and that as a result of that, you find now a large number of papers are coming. We run 2 journals. We run IIDS run a journal for social inclusion, and also one online journal from USA, Brandeis University, Caste Global Exclusion. Now there is a young crop of academicians which are working on many aspects of discrimination. religious discrimination, gender discrimination, gender intersectionality, caste and gender, and on scheduled caste, and in many areas. So, because the reason why we should study, because it has an impact on income and poverty. And then there are policies, which are affirmative action policy, reservation policy. I would not like to go into that. I think I must stop it here, and I can take the question if there are.
Thank you so much, sir. This was really very, very informative, conceptually clarifying, and making all of us to understand what discrimination means. Now, without taking time, I'll request all of you participants here, if you have any questions, this is the best time to come here and request, place your questions and queries. If you have any, please come here.
Okay. Displaying religious identity in terms of religious names, religious symbols will be a tool for discrimination and exclusion in business firms and market, labor market. And do you think hiding this identity or masking this identity will be a good strategy?
No, I think it is not a good strategy. In certain cases, you can get a success by by hiding the identity, but that is not an substantial remedy, because you cannot. A large majority of Muslim or scheduled caste or Sikhs, they cannot hide their identity. Identity can be hidden by only few people and few circumstances. That's not a remedy. What you require is the general campaign against the discrimination. You require legal safeguard, law against discrimination, and you require policies of giving fair share to those who are discriminated. That is why in case of scheduled caste, you have a law against untouchability. And then to give a fair share, you have a reservation policy, at least in proportion to their population, you give them share. In employment, in legislature, in educational institution, and in many other places. What you require a twofold strategy, a movement against the discrimination for equal opportunity to all. And since the discrimination persists, you require a law against it, and you require a policy which will give you a fair representation and share in employment, in farming, in business, and many other areas.
We have other questions, sir. Yeah.
Hello, Professor. I had two questions regarding the technological impact on working class population and also the role of state. So the first question is on, in spite of the many legislation, for instance, the prohibition of manual scavenging, still there is no consistent efforts in mechanization or construction of modern sewage systems or in even rehabilitation of manual scavengers. So even in this neoliberal context where the state is increasingly withdrawing from the welfarist policies, so how would we like go? I would like your insights on it. And even and then on the second question is regarding the platform economy. So so there is the over concentration of marginalized communities in the unorganized sector, and especially in this growing platform economy. So it is highly unregulated, and it's there is a
concentration in what?
Hello.
Concentration in what?
Concentration of marginalized communities in the unorganized sector, especially in platform economy.
No, I'm not able to get it. Which sector you said?
Platform economy. Unorganized sector, platform economy.
Okay. Unorganized sector. Yeah, I understand. Okay, go ahead.
Even especially in the platform economy, since it's and there is a re-entrenchment of caste hierarchies and even discrimination within it. So I would like
platform economy.
Yes, both.
What is platform economy?
Gig economy.
Gig. Yeah. That's a new thing. I understand now. Okay, go ahead.
So I would like your, like there is it is very unregulated, and there is this re-entrenchment of caste hierarchies within it. And for instance, even the entire the people's labor, I mean, historically it has been like it has been a product. So in here there is this re-entrenchment of caste hierarchy. So I would like your insights on the gig economy, and even the first question on the manual scavenging part, and then also maybe some insights on the AI, the impact of AI on working class population.
What is AI?
Artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you very much. This is a very important question that you have raised. The problem of manual scavenger. You can see, you have also asked that the use of technology in manual scavenging does not reduce the discrimination of Valmikis, the scavenger. I think the part of the reason is this. See, discrimination of Valmikis, humiliation and differential treatment is not associated with their occupation. That is the defect of the theories, some of the sociological theories of caste. Even if you see the Supreme Court judgment, recent Supreme Court judgment, they have played up with the occupation of Valmikis to justify the subcaste reservation. Dr. Ambedkar says, if you read Dr. Ambedkar in Annihilation of Caste and Other, that the caste doesn't have a base in occupation or race or color. Caste has a base in caste is an ideological construct. And it is because of that ideology discrimination is practiced, not because it is practiced because you carry a particular occupation, or you are you are a black, or you are a white. So there is no racial or occupational base of the caste system. You know the racial base differences. You know, a scheduled caste from the Kashmir is as white as the Brahmin, or the scheduled caste in the south in Tamil Nadu is as black as the Brahmin, and yet a discrimination takes place. So race has and color doesn't have the base for discrimination. Same is the occupation. Now, in case of Valmiki, the use of technology, because they clean and use their hand, and they have to enter into the drain and all that. The technology will bring some. Technology does bring the implement. You know, giving them shoes, giving them clothes, using the sucking machines. So therefore, the manual involvement in this dirty work is reduced. And to that extent, it is the drudgery of the Valmiki worker get reduced. But even if they do not get involved physically in the sanitary work, and it is done by the machine, yet their discrimination continued. Because discrimination is not associated with their occupation. Discrimination is not associated with that you are a cobbler and you handle leather. Discrimination is associated with your identity as an untouchable, and that remains. So certain amount of stigma of occupation of Valmikis will get reduced if you do it mechanically. But that old stigma as being a Valmiki, as being a lower caste sweeper, that continues. And that is the ideology, and which ideology has to attack. So that is my explanation. The second you talk about is a gigi employment. You are very right. We have two categories of employment. One is the formal employment. That formal employment means you have a job, a regular job, maybe on long contract or permanent, and that you get a gratuity, you get a health insurance and all that. That is a formal job, which you and me get. There is an informal job, which is on a very temporary basis, 1 year basis, or without no contract. You work only on a daily basis, and then there is no social security, PF, or there is a health security. So that is the informal worker. Now this third category has emerged now, which is a gigi worker, means the supply of consumer item by under to your house by this worker under the new arrangement. Now they get their wages on the contact. how many houses you have supplied the goods, and accordingly you get a 20% discounts or 10% discounts. No security, job security. Duration is not there. It is only on the how many time you have delivered the commodities from the restaurant or from grocery, you get a discount. There is no job security. There is no, of course, PF. There is no gratuity. There is nothing. So there are now the organization of the gig worker have asked for the security, job security, contract, and other securities. So this gig category of worker is the most instable, most insecure kind of a job that has emerged now in the recent past.
Thank you so much, sir. Myself, Musarat, and I'm from Women Education Department. I'm doing my research in women studies. Sir, as you talk about gender discrimination, so do you really think that women are more suffer as compared to men? And sir, how we resolve this issue in our society? As we know that India is a patriarchal society, so sir, my question is to you that how we resolve these issues?
Okay, this is a very important question. No, gender discrimination is recognized all over the world, and it is also in India. Now, if I confine to Hindu women, for example, the Hindu women were denied right to property, they were denied right to education, and also they were denied several other rights to participation in decision making. As a result, you find that they suffer from denial of right to property, denial of right to education, even denial of right to separation. And in Hindu society, it had taken to a worse form. That was child marriage, no marriage of a widowhood, and secondly, then ultimate extreme was sati. So these all three obnoxious practices were stopped by the Britishers in 18th century. So women face discrimination in a very vital sphere, right to education, right to property. Now they have been given under the new constitution, but in practice, discrimination continues in various forms. So the women also required the similar policies, the way the policies were given to the scheduled castes, that there has to be law against gender discrimination, which is there, but there are still problems. You can see the sexual exploitation and cases of sexual assault are there, and they have not been able to use the right to property. Although there has been a lot of encouragement for education, yet the enrollment rate of the woman at the school level and the higher education is lower than the man. It is picking up very fast though, but disparities are there. Then in the family, gender discrimination, that if you have limited income, okay, first priority is to give education to the boys, and girls will anyhow up to matriculation, and then the plan is to get her married. So gender discrimination is there. So it requires a policy, same policy, law against gender discrimination, which is there. Then you require a reservation also for women. It may not be strictly speaking the reservation similar to that of a scheduled caste, but some preference in the job so that they represent. And finally, we have accepted then reservation in legislature, 30%. But also in job, also in education institution, they require reservation. This is one point. The second point I want to share with you that there is what is called that there are differences in the discrimination among the women coming from different religion. A woman from high caste, a woman from Muslim community, women from low caste. They face a similar form of gender discrimination, right to denial in the past, and even today continue informally. Denial of right to property and education, diverse, but among the untouchable, the remarriage was not a problem, as it was a problem in the middle, the upper caste. But there is a gender discrimination of all the women. But because of caste, The scheduled caste women face additional disabilities, which the high caste women do not. High caste women only face gender discrimination, but she doesn't face discrimination associated with caste. The scheduled caste woman face discrimination with gender as well as with caste. Now, similarly, the Muslim woman face gender discrimination, but she may be facing the discrimination associated with the certain feature of the caste, religion, Islam. I don't know. You have to study that. Whether specifically she faced the problem associated because of the restriction coming from the religion, in addition to the gender. So the point that you have to understand that the woman for minorities has a double deprivation, gender and religion base. Scheduled caste, gender and caste base. High caste woman only gender, not caste, not religion. In some cases, maybe religion. Now, so this concept has been described by very well by Laila Kabir. Laila Kabir is an economist from Bangladesh who teaches at London School of Economics. She developed a concept of intersectionality, gender intersectionality. That every woman suffers from gender discrimination, but there is an intersection in the sense that their discrimination varies depending on caste, their religious background, their other background. So you have to read that literature, Betty, of Laila Kabir on intersectionality of gender discrimination across caste, across religion, even across economies. So these are some of the point explanation to your question. Please go ahead.
Sir, I have two questions. My first question is that in case of discrimination, what we have witnessed that the people or group of people who discriminates, they also tries to justify or normalize the discrimination. As in the case of caste system, we can observe that discrimination is justified by different religious texts on the basis of purity and pollution. And in current Indian scenario, what we are witnessing that atrocities or discrimination against Muslims is being justified by different fake propagandas and narratives. So what can be or what should be the proper academic way or language to counter the justification of discrimination is my first question. And the second thing is that as far as the discrimination or marginalization of Muslims is concerned in post-independence India, what I have observed, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that there is a scarcity of academic work produced on the marginality of Muslim community. So what is the reason behind it, and what
No, can you repeat the second question?
My second thing is that in post-independent India, there is a scarcity of, there is less academic work on the marginalization or discrimination against Muslim community in social sciences and in different academic disciplines.
I understand that. I understand.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know what are the reasons behind it and what should be the future, what you can say, the academic way or program to inculcate this. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Your first question was that what are the sources of discrimination?
Justification.
In the case of untouchable and the Shudras, lower caste, the sources is the Hindu religious ideology, not Hindu, Brahmanical religious ideology. And that is the caste system. Caste system is the social organization of the Brahmanism. Or you may like to call Hindu, yeah, but there is nothing like Hinduism, so I prefer to call it Brahmanism. So the roots of the caste system, roots of the caste discrimination and untouchability are in the Hindu religious, Brahmanical religious philosophy, which are very clear in the religious text. You pick up Manusmriti or pick up any religious text, there is a justification of caste. Now, I will suggest you one reading and you can see this. There is a, all Ambedkar's writing has been published into 23 volumes. Volume 4 is Riddle of Hinduism. I don't know whether you're familiar, but go and look at the Riddle of Hinduism. And at the end, there is an appendix. That appendix, it is in the main body also, but in the appendix, what Dr. Ambedkar did is that he has examined all the Brahmanical literature and see whether they mention caste or justify caste or not. To his surprise, he found that none of the Brahmanical Shastras Avoid mentioning caste. Every Brahmanical Shastras and books justify caste system. So you start with Rig Veda. Purushotta is the first one which mention about the 4 Varnas or 4 castes. Then you take other 3 Vedas, Yajurveda and other, there's a mention of caste. Then you come to Smrutis. Manusmruti is, of course, converted the caste system into law. Then Narad Smruti, Vishnu Smruti, you take all Smrutis, the caste is justified. Then you take Puranas, caste is justified. There are 18 Puranas. Then you take Ramayana, caste system is justified. You take Mahabharata, caste system is justified. You take Gita, caste Varna system is justified. Now Gita is being proposed, a very pious religious text, without denying that we deny the Varna system given by Gita. In fact, I may share with you that this Supreme Court judgment about the subcaste reservation, there is a judge called Pankaj Mittal, who says that Gita is good. Ramcharitmanas is good. He reads it. He said, Ramcharitmanas, you know that Shudra and women are considered to be deprived. Gita believe in Varna system. And yet he said that I have a lot of reverence to this. There was no need for him to mention about Gita and Ramcharitmanas in the judgment. There was no relation. But the point is that all literature of Brahmanical religion, Vedic religion, justify caste. As a result, what happened? Why caste doesn't go? The reason is all the high caste, not only Brahmin, but higher caste and even OBCs, they are all victim of caste system simply because they read religious text. They are religious people. And all religion justify caste system. Therefore, caste system comes to the Hindus very naturally as a religious philosophy. So you are very right. That became difficult to remove the caste system and untouchability. Dr. Ambedkar argued, one of the reasons that Dr. Ambedkar gave that why caste system still persists, the reason is he compared the slavery with untouchability. You know, slavery in USA was banned in 1866. On the next day, slavery disappeared. All slaves were freed. Racial discrimination prevailed, but slavery was just dismantled within 1 month or 2 months. We have an Anti-Untouchability Act of 1955 and Atrocity Act of 1989, 70 year, untouchability is still rampant. Ambedkar's one of the explanation is that untouchability and caste has a religious base. And therefore, caste system is difficult to remove. It became very stubborn because all Hindus are told this as a religious institution, so they faithfully follow it. You cannot challenge religion. Religion is a faith. If somebody say that I believe in God, you cannot ask him, can you show me the God? Where does it exist? Very difficult because it's faith. So since the caste system is a faith, people believe in it. So it became a lot more difficult. This is the first question. Second question was can you repeat it?
My second question is that there is less academic work on the
Yeah, I understand now. Yeah, the point is, if you look, you should read the Who Were Shudra. There is an introduction by Dr. Ambedkar. Dr. Ambedkar say that entire academic, so far, now there is an entry to some extent, was monopolized by the Brahmin. Even today, a very large portion of the professor and researcher are from the Brahmin community. They are literate. Now, Dr. Ambedkar draw a distinction between a learned person and an intellectual person. Who is the intellectual person and who is a learned person? Learned person is a person who knows the knowledge of the subject, detailed knowledge of the subject. So he is a storehouse of the knowledge. He can share with you. But there is a limitation of this learned person. That this learned person would not undertake a research or teach on those areas which will hamper his interest. But a learned person is a person or a professor or a researcher who not only identify the problem and explain it, but he or she also then suggest remedies irrespective of the interest of that researcher. So self-interest doesn't come in the research. So learned person, self-interest come in, so you don't take research, you don't speak about it. The intellectual person undertake research and honestly talk about the problems. Now, his argument, I'm quoting Ambedkar, is that the Brahmin scholarship is the scholarship is of a learned person, and they avoid to undertake research and highlight the problems of deprived section. Why? Because the caste system give them privileges. Caste system give them right to education, right to property, and all privileges. Now, if they write against it, and if they are dishonest, then they won't talk about the problem of discrimination. That is why there are no studies on discrimination of scheduled caste. Same thing happened with the Muslim. But some of them are intellectual who are very irrespective of caste. They will write very honestly, and there are many Brahmanic scholars also who write very honestly. But predominantly, since majority of the Brahmin scholarship is of a category called learned scholar, they avoid undertaking studies and research on the problem which affect their interest. And therefore, you don't find research and teaching on many topics in the university and the colleges. Yes, Betty?
Sir, I am Adira. Sir, we have in academic circle and in the larger public, we do discuss about the caste system among the Hindus, the history of it, and how it's still in practice and the subtle version of caste system in the society. So my question is, I haven't have come across the caste system among the Christianity, among the Christian, how it's the caste system is still in practice and how it's very strong. I'm from Kerala, and we have the case of Kevin, who has been killed by the upper caste men, and this person belonged to the lower caste. So, how the caste system is in practice among the other religion like Christians, among the Muslims, and we haven't come across such discussions in the larger public and in academics about the caste system that is being practiced among these two religions, especially the Christians. So they don't have such religious texts like the Gita or the Upanishads or the Puranas which support caste system. So I would like to know your opinion on that, sir. Thank you.
Very important question, Betty. This is an important issue. See, the first point is that there is a caste discrimination within Christianity and within Islam. It is also there within Sikhism. We don't know about Jainism, but among the Sikh, among the Christian, and among the Muslims, there is a caste discrimination. Now, why there is a caste discrimination? What is the source, particularly of Christian? You are interested in Christian. The reason is those who have converted to Christianity, they have converted from different caste. So Brahmin have converted to Christianity, OBC has converted to Christianity, higher caste have converted to Christianity, and a very significant portion of untouchable have converted to Christianity. But after having converted to Christianity, the legacy and the practice of the caste discrimination continued it even after you became a Christian. Although the Bible would not preach discrimination on inequality, and yet they practice discrimination because it's a legacy of their past, which they carry forward into the Christians. So therefore, during the last 20 years or so, there has been a constant demand, particularly in South India, Tamil Nadu, that Dalit Christian face discrimination. So there has to be some policy. They face discrimination within the church also. So gradually the church responded, and you will recall that in Tamil Nadu, a committee was set up under the chairmanship of Thangraj, who was a chair professor, to study the discrimination within the Dalit. And he came with the discrimination that how, in fact, in the beginning, there were different church for Dalit and non-Dalit. Then in the common church, the Dalit will stand in a different row in the prayer. Discrimination in employment in the Christian school. Discrimination in admission in the Christian school. So scheduled caste Christian face discrimination by the hand of the converted OBC and the high caste. If you go into the villages, the localities of the Dalit Christians are still separate. So the discrimination persists because it is a hangover or carry forward or legacy of the caste system, which is carried into the Christianity. But there is another reason that the Indian Christian have not started any movement of discrimination of Christian within the Christian. That is the point. So you should read, I think volume 5 of Dr. Ambedkar. There are 4 essays on he addressed to the Dalit Christian directly what the Dalit Christian should do. And the main point of Dr. Ambedkar was that the Dalit Christian have to raise a struggle against the caste system within the Christianity. And now this issue has gone to the Supreme Court also for a reservation of Dalit Christian and Dalit Muslim. A committee was set up. I think you know Satish Deshpande. A committee was set up, and Satish Deshpande was asked to identify the forms of discrimination among Dalit Christian and Dalit Muslim, and come with a recommendation that committee has brought out that there is a discrimination of lower caste within Christian, lower caste within Islam. And also, of course, in Sikhism, the Majbi Sikh face a lot of discrimination, and for them there is a reservation policy, but there is no reservation policy for Dalit Christian or Dalit Muslim. Although there is a demand.
Yes, sir. So my questions about the idea of latecomers in terms like the recognition of Ambedkar itself is a late, and then Gopal Guru also talks about how Indian Dalit scholars are being sidelined in terms of having scholarships and fellowships. So the thing is, I mean, my questions, it's broadly asked, how do you think about the very idea of latecomers in terms of economic disparity? Will there this disparity remain forever? I mean, whatever the situation, like for an example, reservation policy, of course, offers a representation to the first generation learners, but their sustenance in the academic spaces is very difficult. So how do you think about it?
See, what one has to understand is this, that discrimination, caste discrimination, is not something which is confined to few fields. I have discussed with you only the economic field. But discrimination in terms of denial of equal right cover all the sphere of the high caste, all the sphere, all the social relations, marriages, sitting, eating together, residences, business, farming, employment, education sphere, everywhere. This is the first proposition that we have to understand. We were under illusion that there is no discrimination in the education institution. But now, after the continuous suicide and other things, we now began to realize that discrimination persists in education institution also. Now, you are very right that the entry of the Dalit, particularly, that is not the case of the Muslim. Muslim have that law, that advantage of the Mughal Empire and the later thing. So there is one section among the Muslim which is a Jamindar and feudal, and their children have access to higher education. So you find many Muslim into the various education institutions. But that is not the case of Dalit. In Dalit, because they were given right to education for the first time came in 1854. And when Dr. Ambedkar was asked in 1990 that how many bachelors are there in Bombay Presidency, he said, I am the only one. And there were other 24 with a high school education. So education among the scheduled castes come very late. And as a result, you find that the higher educated Dalit began to appear somewhere around early 90s, 2000. And so they enter into education institutions. Although the proportion is very small at professor, associate professor level, but assistant professor some. Now, so the underrepresentation in the education institutions is primarily because of lack of education and of course discrimination also. But there is a discrimination of the faculty faces in the higher education institution. There are no studies. The student discrimination, there are studies now. My report, All India Institute of Medical Science, which brought out discrimination faced by scheduled caste student. Then as a follow-up, Sukumar, I gave funding to him from ICSR, and there is a book by him, Sukumar, Discrimination in Higher Education Institution, brought by Oxford now. There are studies done by the NUPA, National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration. Dr. Nidhi Sadana has done research on discrimination. And even Satish Deshpande's edited book on exclusion also there are 2 essays which bring out discrimination in education institution. So, but there are no studies on discrimination faced by the faculty in the educational institution. But my observation is that they do face discrimination in various forms. We do not know those forms, but one of the form I can tell you that there is no hand-holding of the young faculty member from the scheduled caste. If you want to write a research paper, you have to have a hand-holding by the senior one. That's why you will find generally the articles in the early stages are published by the co-authors, supervisor and the student, or junior faculty and senior faculty. Junior faculty will write the first draft, but senior faculty will go through and finalize it. But that hand-holding is not there. They also lack invitation from the conferences. They also lack fellowship to go outside. So as a result, there is an element of frustration. I have seen that. As a chairman of the UGC, I have seen that they were never on any committees of the UGC. I brought the involvement of the scheduled caste, Muslim and other on various committees of UGC, of ICSR also. So you have to have a purposeful attempt. There has to be policy, in fact, as a matter of fact, that the scheduled caste and Muslim and minorities should have equal representation on various committees of the university and education organization like UGC, AICT, Indian Council of Medical Sciences. So discrimination of the faculty is a problem, but one need to study and identify the forms and suggest a policy also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for bringing a lot of things. In fact, in the hall, I cannot show it. There are some technical glitch in camera. This is big bunch of the young researchers, and then they have been raising questions on this area. I'm sure some of the ideas which you pinch for studies on minorities, I find students from Manu will take it up in terms of doing studies. In fact, from the Department of Sociology, we did some of the studies on minorities, and one of the study was published on segregation of Muslims in Hyderabad and this neighboring district of Rangareddy. We also have a study on Muslim scavengers in Hyderabad and then how the social mobility took place. So these are some of the studies which we have been doing in the context of minorities in largely in southern India. In fact, one of the question which was raised about the persistence of manual scavenging, even despite of a lot of tools and mechanizations of the occupations. In one study which I am doing at the moment, it's just ongoing, we find despite of all that, within the group, lot of discrimination because of their caste association. So all these will be really very useful to all of us. I thank you so much that you could spare your half day with us and give a lot of insights. We do have a lot of hope from the participants who have been joining these methodology workshop on discrimination and exclusion. And I am happy that on behalf of the department, this opportunity was given to the Department of Sociology at Maulana Azad National Urdu University to host this methodology workshop. And after returning, quite often I find that many researchers come back and try to find out how to do their research. And I'm sure IADS will always be mentoring the young researchers and then in terms of guiding the methodological tools. I'm also, I agree that a lot to be done on economic, non-market discrimination, market discrimination on minorities. And I'm sure many of the research students at our university will take it up and stand up to your expectations, showing.
Yeah, I would love to go. I will just make a last point is that I would come personally. My apologies because I am a visiting faculty in Manu, but I have not been able to find a time. But I will do come and interact with you. My only suggestion to you is the following: that you are not getting, the social exclusion center are not getting funding. UGC has reduced it. I have suggested earlier also, what you do is to follow the American method. What American method have done is that all those faculty, economics, politics, sociology, literature, who works on the issue of minorities, they work on all the issues in the basic discipline and teach in their various department. But all those who work on the Muslim issue, they should be affiliated to the exclusion center as a visiting faculty or adjunct faculty without payment. They get the salary from the main department. So, and then form a group in the exclusion center and then collectively develop research project, organize seminar, workshop, roundtable, and get project and publish them. That is how you can build up that center. If you expect that the UGC will give you funding, forget about it. So I'll come next time and again concretize this, but you can take an initiative that all those who work on Muslim or want to work on Muslim may be appointed as a visiting faculty or adjunct faculty in exclusion center. You form a group, develop a perspective of research on minorities, Muslim minority, and undertake various activities, seminar, discussion, lectures, and research project, and publication of book.